All right, guys, so we got to talk about a real story, a serious story that involves Paul Pelosi, the husband of Nancy Pelosi, who is the leader of the Democrats in the House. Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House. Paul Pelosi is her husband. He has been in the news lately because he's been driving around drunk, okay, for drunk driving, for driving under the influence. He was hammered, okay? And it seems like he's once again, unfortunately, back in the news for getting hammered. Take a look.
From the Bay Area's local news station, we begin now with breaking news.
We have new details of the attack on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, this morning in San Francisco.
Yeah, a violent attack in the early hours on this Friday inside their home in the Pacific Heights neighborhood of the city. We have KRON 4's Sarah Stinson there right now with the very latest on what investigators have uncovered so far. Sarah?
Well, James, Daria, we have confirmed that Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, was brutally beaten with a hammer in their own home in San Francisco. This is in the Pacific Heights neighborhood, and we can see police just surrounding the home. The FBI showed up about an hour ago. We finally been able to confirm as well that this attack happened around 2:30 this morning. Paul Pelosi is at the hospital receiving treatment for injuries to his body. He has bruising and severe swelling, but his spokesperson says he's expected to be okay. Sources say the 82-year-old was specifically targeted by his attacker, and that's something we'll definitely need to hear more about. Paul Pelosi, we know that the person who attacked him was arrested quickly and is in custody right now. Nancy Pelosi was not in the home during the attack. She is in Washington, D.C. Police are investigating the motive. Of course, now we're hearing that this was a specific target. So why did this person do this? Of course, the question also remains is how did a person break into the home in the first place? I mean, the Pelosis, they have a ton of security, not only on themselves, but also on their home. Speaker Pelosi says she is so grateful to the first responders and to the police. We also know President Biden, he called Pelosi to say he's praying for Paul. He's praying for the whole Pelosi family. San Francisco police, they finally released a statement explaining a little bit about what I just told you, and they also said they're going to give us an update later this morning from police headquarters. Of course, we'll bring you the latest once they provide it. But what a crazy morning for this family. It's just so scary to even find out that someone was in your home, let alone brutally attacked your husband. I'm sure Speaker Pelosi is just shaken up this morning. Back to you.
Because you do have a better vantage point now in the light, can you see from there any broken windows or anything in the home?
I can't see any broken windows. We have a good vantage point of just one of the rooms in the house. That one's fully intact, but some of the front house of the area is blocked by foliage and some bushes, so that's why we don't have a good look at that front door. And of course, they have this entire block taped off, so can't get a look at any of the side windows either. But as you know, this Pacific Heights neighborhood, there's basically two homes on this block, massive homes, and they've got it all taped off.
Okay. We'll keep checking back with you, Sarah.
Well, and Sarah mentioned a moment ago that the White House released a statement earlier this morning with thoughts from the president. In fact, we can put that up here. It says, and I'll read it off to you, the president is praying for Paul Pelosi and for Speaker Pelosi's whole family. This morning, he called Speaker Pelosi to express his support after this horrible attack. He is also very glad that a full recovery is expected. And then it goes on to say the president continues to condemn all violence and asks that the family's desire for privacy be respected.
Yeah, so that is obviously a very, very serious and sad story, okay? I hope and pray that Paul Pelosi makes a full recovery, and there's just more information and details that are pouring in about this story. So again, you know, after you guys watch this video, there's probably more updated details on this story. But we do have CNN reporting that the attacker allegedly tried to tie up Paul Pelosi and said that he was waiting for Nancy, right? Basically asking where Nancy Pelosi was. Now, I got a whole lot of questions about this attack. And the first question I have is how did this happen? I mean, when you're worth as much money as Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi, and you have as much security around you as they do, right? Again, anywhere they go, including their home, it is mighty strange that somebody was able to sneak into his home and actually attack Paul Pelosi without anybody noticing or being able to stop him. That is actually extremely, extremely, extremely strange. Again, because these rich people, these guys, Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, they're worth over $100 million. They have top class security, right? I don't understand how this happens, right? If this was a security failure, they should fire their security team. Seriously. I mean, again, these politicians, these rich people, they have a lot of security. So I don't necessarily understand how this happened. So I guess that I think it'd be reasonable to assume, right, with that being said, that we could have some juicy Smollett action going on here. I don't know that for sure, but just for this video, we're going to assume that this is true, okay, and that there's no juicy action going on. Which, again, I wouldn't be surprised if there is, but I'm just saying, we don't know that for sure yet. So also, there's a question of motivation. Well, why did this happen? Was it political? And we don't really know that yet. But what I do know is that there's automatically going to be an assumption by the mainstream liberal media that this must have been politically motivated, and it must have been from somebody on the right. But I want to pump the brakes on that. Let's pump the brakes on that, because if you understand politics, you need to understand that the Democrat Party is divided. Progressives don't like the Pelosi's just as much as people on the right don't like the Pelosi's, right? So I wouldn't just assume that this was some right-wing attack or that this came from somebody on the right, because again, Pelosi is not well liked among progressives. They don't like Nancy Pelosi and the establishment Democrats, okay? And we have seen when it comes to the vandalism and all the other stuff that goes on, yeah, we will see progressives go after the establishment Democrats, right? That's what happened. So again, I would just automatically assume that if this is politically motivated, that it must be some right-winger, some right-wing extremist that's trying to go after Nancy Pelosi and her husband, right? But again, it is a very serious situation where we have more questions than answers at this point. But what, again, I find to be fascinating is the coverage that this is receiving. Because obviously, the Republicans have reached out to the Pelosi. Joe Biden has given a statement. There's going to be a lot of focus and sympathy for the Pelosi's, which I think they deserve. But again, if this is politically motivated here, and we're talking about political violence and political attacks going on in this country, we have this stuff happening to regular people too, and it's not getting nearly as much coverage. Like, for example, what happened down in Miami, Florida, in which allegedly a canvasser for Marco Rubio was attacked for being a Republican, for wearing a Ron DeSantis hat while canvassing in a neighborhood in which apparently Republicans aren't allowed. Take a look.
Our camera's rolling as a man accused of attacking a volunteer for Marco Rubio walked out of jail.
He's the second suspect police arrested for the brutal beating in Hialeah. Local 10's Cody Weddle is live in West Miami-Dade with what that suspect had to say. Cody.
Calvin and Anita, he just bonded out a few hours ago. Both of these men are facing charges of aggravated battery. He would not answer our questions tonight about why he allegedly viciously attacked that Marco Rubio campaigner. Did you do this because they were Republicans?
God, it's good all the time.
Tonight, 27-year-old Jonathan Casanova bonding out of the TGK jail.
What are your thoughts on politics?
Ignoring our questions as a woman who said she was his wife covered his face.
Yes, I have a private lawyer.
Casanova faced a Miami-Dade judge Wednesday morning, the second person to be charged in the beating of a man campaigning for Senator Marco Rubio in Hialeah. Investigators say it was Sunday Casanova and Javier Lopez, who was arrested earlier this week, confronted Christopher Monzon as he passed out flyers for Rubio near East 60th Street and 1st Avenue. Police later finding Casanova in his car at a Miami Beach park.
We were able to put together a 6-photo lineup where the victim positively identified Mr. Casanova.
Monzon told police he was confronted by the men who were blocking the sidewalk, and it was Casanova who allegedly told him, quote, he couldn't pass through because he was a Republican and his dogs were ready to attack.
The statement that Casanova gave to the victim was, no Republicans in Hialeah, you gotta get out of here or I'm gonna let my dogs out, and he even threatened to shoot him.
Police saying those dogs did not attack, but the beating and kicks still leaving Monzon with serious injuries. Tonight, Monzon's father telling Local 10 he has been hospitalized again due to further complications. So the question remains whether these men specifically attacked Monzon because he was a Republican. The Miami Herald is reporting that the mother of Javier Lopez, one of the suspects, told them that he is not a political person. And tonight, the wife, the woman escorting Jonathan Casanova, told me they do not vote. Reporting in West Miami-Dade, I'm Cody Weddle, Local 10 News.
Now, here's the thing. Both of those situations are very unfortunate, okay? Now, the situation in Miami, it seems to me that there's more evidence as of right now in terms of what we know that this was politically motivated. The police seem to believe that it's politically motivated than what we have going on with Nancy Pelosi and her husband in San Francisco. But regardless, I guess what I'm saying is this. The difference in these responses is fascinating. Again, I know that Paul Pelosi is a high-profile figure, right? This canvasser out in Florida, Miami, he's just another guy, right? He's just another kid. But at the same time, again, we're talking about political violence and people getting attacked because of their politics. This stuff should be covered, right? We should actually talk about this more. Again, I did a story maybe a month or so ago, right, about the kid, the young man that was ran over, killed simply because he was Republican. Some lunatic thought that, oh, he might be a Republican extremist, therefore I'm going to run over him or something like that, right? Mainstream liberal media completely ignored it, didn't want to talk about it. But now you want to talk about Paul Pelosi getting beaten with a hammer? Again, I think it definitely deserves to be talked about, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if the attacker, if he happens to not actually be a right-winger, if he happens to be a left-winger progressive, which could be possible, right? If it is politically motivated, it will be swept under the rug, right? All of a sudden, it will disappear because that tends to be what happens. Stories about right-wingers that get attacked, okay, and it's politically motivated, they never talk about it. Or stories that are committed by woke revolutionary progressives. Like, for example, the attempted assassination out in Kentucky, right? That happened to BLM guy, right? The BLM assassin. He tried to assassinate a Democrat running for mayor. He failed at it because apparently he can't shoot. So that story, again, got swept under the rug. Nobody really talked about it because the suspect he did not fit the narrative from a skin color perspective and also from a political perspective, right? So again, you have a situation where you have, political violence happen in this country, something I've spoken out against quite a bit, but it always seems like the media doesn't care about it unless it fits a certain narrative, which means that it has to be a Democrat getting attacked by somebody that's on the right side of the aisle. Now, when that happens, again, it's all hands on deck. This is something that we need to deal with. This is a big problem, blah, blah, blah. But, when it comes to the other side, it's just kind of like, whatever. It is what it is. We're not really going to talk about it. Again, this story is going to get a whole lot of coverage, okay? And I don't think that it shouldn't, but I'm just saying that you didn't see the same amount of coverage when this young man got attacked simply for canvassing for Marco Rubio, which again is a politically motivated attack. This is something that the mainstream liberal media should be talking about, considering how, hey, they're supposed to be against political violence so much. So, again, I hope that Paul Pelosi gets better. I hope that the canvasser that was attacked out in Miami, I hope that he gets better. And I also hope and pray for less political violence in this country. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.